with every 10 or 20 kilometers, we'll find a change in the situation there. But the beauty here is that, in spite of all the diversity, we are one. So there is a unity in diversity. So all these differences, of course, are symbolic only. These are not the real one, and that's why the unity in India is reflected everywhere. And the Constitution of India has played a very, very important role in maintaining the unity and integrity of this country, which is a very big country in terms of not only size but also in terms of the population. I hope not only in terms of having the maximum population there. So, in spite of all differences, we are one, and this, of course, has come mainly from the Constitution of India. The Constitution of India has been drafted in such a way that we have taken care of our actual situations at that time, and keeping in mind the situation in India, the Constitution has been framed. And I hope we should pay our homage to all those, including Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and all others who have contributed in the enactment of this Constitution. And this Constitution, of course, has given one India, unified India, united India. And of course, there may be some countries where the Constitution is unwritten, actually, it's not written. But of course, we are lucky to have a formal written constitutions before us. We have the constitutions which have guaranteed us the fundamental rights. This is the constitution which also speak of the fundamental duties also. So one message I would like to give to all my young friends today is that, of course, fundamental rights are necessary for the development and the growth. But at the same time, we should also not forget about our fundamental duties also. The duties and the rights are the two sides of the same coin. So we cannot focus on one and we cannot ignore the other one. So let's our rights and duties go side by side. Let's enjoy all our rights, but at the same time, let's also try to fulfill all our duties also. Our obligations to the country, our obligations to the society, and our obligations to the professions in which we are working. And I hope the youths of this country and the agencies like NCC and NSS, of course, has to play and have been playing a very important role in this mission there. In fact, there are so many camps being organized by NCC and NSS, of course, in different parts of the country, which try to bring the new things to you. So therefore, I know this is very pertinent here that you have invited a legal expert here on constitutions. I'm sure we are all going to be benefited after Dr. Chandra's lecture with you. So I wish you all the best, and I convey my best wishes, appreciation, and welcome to Dr. Chandra for being with us. And I also appreciate the efforts put up by our NSS students team as well as the NSS officer for organizing this program. So I wish you success for this program.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your esteemed thoughts with us and enlightening us all with the same. So now, without any further ado, we would like to introduce our honorable speaker for today, and may I please request our beloved President Anshika Arora to please do the honors. Over to you, Anshika.
Thank you, Kriti. A very warm good evening, everyone. I am Anshika Arora, serving as the President for this session, and first of all, on behalf of the entire NSS family, I would like to express our gratitude towards you all for joining in today. Now, this was just the gist of today's crucial day, and to make us all aware of the same in depth, I would now like to introduce and invite our today's special guest, Dr. Chandra Rajan, an advocate at the Honorable Supreme Court of India, a jury member at Lok Adalat, life member at the Press Club of India, an arbitrator and guest faculty of ADR, life member at Bar Association of India, life member at ASSOCHAM ADR panel, member at Delhi State Women's Council, convener at Equality Before Law Society, life member at Supreme Court Bar Association, and a member at Supreme Court Women Lawyers Association. She possesses a bachelor's degree in law from the University of Delhi itself and is a PhD holder in marketing from UBS, Chandigarh. She has not only performed wonders in our country but has also represented India internationally in Mauritius, Turkey, Israel, and Dubai. She had adjudged 9 moot court competitions and had also been honored by the Delhi University by her own professor. Apart from this, she has also represented All India Muslim Women's Personal Law Board in the landmark Triple Talaq case in the Supreme Court and has shared diyas with many, including former Lok Sabha Speaker Shri Shivraj Patel, Salman Khurshid and former Minister of Law and Justice Shri D.V. Sadananda Gaura. So, without any further retards, we would now like to invite our beloved guest speaker to enlighten us all with her inspirational words. And over to you, Chandra ma'am.
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. If you could please unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
But I would like to thank the entire NSS team and the principal for putting in all your efforts and bringing the youth together to understand what actually the Constitution is and what are our duties and rights in the light of Constitution on the Constitution Day. In fact, we were celebrating the Constitution Day in our own Supreme Court campus today. And right now also I am in my chamber in the Supreme Court. I couldn't leave for home. I thought I'll conduct the session from my office at home, but I just, due to paucity of time, I had to begin here only. So, basically, see the today's topic, as we have decided, is the role of Constitution in maintaining unity and integrity of India. Now, to understand this, this is such a huge topic, which has two very big dimensions. One is the integrity and unity of India within the country, which is the domestic issue, and other is the unity and threat to the unity and integrity of India from the overseas forces, the external forces. So we will be discussing mainly focusing on the internal unity and integrity of our country. I just gave a glimpse of the external threats coming from the overseas at the end of the session, but basically my focus would lie within the domestic unity and integrity. Now, as the principal just said, that the unity of India lies in its diversity. Now, how this diversity, people coming from various parts of the country with various different cultures, how we are united and how we are integrated into one single country with a single citizenship, where there is absolutely no discrimination between a citizen from a Kashmir or a citizen coming from a Kanyakumari or from Far East. From wherever they are coming, we all have similar rights. Now, how come this has all been possible? Let me just, first of all, thank Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar. It is because of him this has become possible, and we are seeing the light of the day today, despite the fact that there are so many miscreants in our country, or maybe there are some forces from outside the country who are trying to actually endanger our unity and integrity. We are still united and standing firmly on the ground, and the whole world has appreciated. So to basically understand what is unity and integrity, I think we should understand that no one should act in a manner or speak in a manner with an intention of endangering this unity and integrity of our country. No one should be allowed to speak, no one is allowed to speak or act in a manner which is instigating or is capable to instigate people, which will breach the harmonious coexistence of our country. Harmonious coexistence of the people, the peace of our country. This should never be breached. We must never do any act or speak in a manner where people coming from a variety of cultures and classes and sections of the society may feel, in danger, or the country's unity or integrity may be hurt. So, to maintain this, we have this instrument called the Constitution of India. Now, what does actually Constitution of India does? Are you all comfortable with English, or I should proceed in English and Hindi mix? Are you comfortable in English?
Ma'am, as you prefer. Totally up to you.
No issues. No, English, Hindi, दोनों चलेगा ना? So how does this constitution work, and how we are united? For that we need to understand a term called rule of law mandate. Now what is rule of law? Rule of law is a set of rules जो हम सबको bind करके और एक तरीके से चलने का रास्ता दिखाता है. ये कानून है, हमें सबको उसकी पालना करनी. We all have to follow it. So all these things flow from the constitution. That is called rule of law mandate. जो हम उसको तोड़ नहीं सकते, इग्नोर नहीं कर सकते. We must follow it if we are at all to abide by the rule of law. So this constitution prescribes certain rights and certain limitations. वो हमें कुछ एक हक देता है being a citizen of this country, और साथ ही में as the principal told कि there are some duties also. They are basically the limitations. तो constitution हमें दोनों चीजें देता है, rights भी देता है और limitations भी उन्होंने ड्रॉ कर दी कि आपको इस मर्यादा के अंदर रह करके और अपने ये वाले राइट्स आपने एंजॉय करने हैं, so that we all can stay united and we all can respect each other's rights and duties. कहते हैं ना कि रात को 10 बजे के बाद में आपको लाउड स्पीकर नहीं चलाना है, बिकॉज वी रिस्पेक्ट दी नेबर्स राइट टू पीसफुल स्लीप. सो देयर आर लॉज लेड डाउन एंड ईच एंड एवरी लॉ फ्लॉज फ्रॉम द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. जैसे गांधी जी ने कहा था, उनका ये मानना था कि देयर इज अ यूनिटी इन डाइवर्सिटी. सो व्हाट एसेंशियली ही सेड इज कि वी हैव डाइवर्स पीपल बट स्टिल वी आर यूनाइटेड and we are integrated with the thread of constitution. The beautiful thing that we have. Now, in order to ensure that how this constitution would be working, we have laid down so many things, procedures which govern our country. So, in order to ensure that the governance is integrated and the administration of justice within the constitutional discipline of the rights and interests of the needs of the citizen, it must be practiced in an appropriate manner, and it must secure the integrity of the country. At a time, the two things the constitution is doing. सबसे पहले क्या करता है वो हम सबके rights protect. Second thing what it does is it does not allow anyone else the rights of the other person. So, the constitution protects us and our rights. There is a mathematician from English mathematician. You know what he said? He said that he was a philosophical basically. Mathematician is a philosophical. He laid down the philosophical process that how these things work. Actually, every country has enormous potential in his people, in his citizens. So what actually we do? Without people, without citizens, the country is not a country, it's merely a land. लेकिन जो हम लोग एक इकट्ठा होते हैं, हम लोग जो citizens हैं, जो हमसे देश बनता है, उसमें there is a huge potential. And that potential is a process. We follow the process. Now, if we follow this process, we uncover so many things. We uncover that we have a potential to act in a manner which is prescribed by the Constitution. So, the Constitution basically gives us the process of a philosophy of the constitutional theory, how we have to follow, how we have to act. Very beautifully laid down by this philosopher called Alfred North Whitehead. सरकार है वो एक्सेसिंग हो रही है और राइट्स ऑफ द सिटीजन को इम्पीच कर रही है, देन द कोर्ट विल कम इन पिक्चर। इफ द पर्सन जिसके राइट इम्पीच हो रहे हैं वो अगर कोर्ट में आता है और अपनी आवाज उठाता है, देन द कोर्ट विल एक्ट एंड दे विल से द गवर्नमेंट कि नहीं, आपने ये नहीं करना है बिकॉज द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन डजंट अलाउ दिस। एंड इफ द पर्सन डज समथिंग रॉन्ग which will endanger the unity and integrity of our India, then the state will come in action. फिर उसको पकड़ेंगे, फिर उसको अंदर करेंगे, again the court will come in picture. वो कहेंगे कि भाई आपने ये गलत किया था, आपको ये नहीं करना है। So this is the basic role of the court, to maintain peace and tranquility and harmonious coexistence. So that is where the courts come in. Now the basic thing which I understand that you all ask me to do is the role of the constitution. Now role of the constitution, if we discuss, then we certainly need to discuss the role of the Supreme Court in being the custodian of the constitution, in maintaining the rule of law, in maintaining the unity and integrity of the country. Role of the Supreme Court has to be understood first. Now what does Supreme Court do? How a common person, how a person जो एक मजदूर है, जो एक दिहाड़ी करके अगर मान लीजिए अपना घर चला रहा है, तो उसके लिए भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट के दरवाजे कैसे खुले हुए? इट इज बिकॉज वी आर vested with fundamental rights in the constitution. Part 3 of the constitution has bestowed upon us so many fundamental rights, out of which there is article 32 जो हमें ये हक देता है कि अगर हमारे कोई राइट्स खत्म होते हैं तो we need to approach the Supreme Court, but that too in a proper procedure. Now since the independence, all these things came into place. Since we had our constitution बना, implement हुआ, सब कुछ हुआ, so then emerged a new line. That line was that we were discussing the fundamental rights. All the intellectuals who were the fathers of the creation of the constitution, members of the constituent assembly who created the constitution for us, apart from them, when it actually came into force, the courts established and the people who were practicing in the law came into practice and they understood that what are the rights. So all the things were open for discussion. So the articulations and understanding of the law by all these intellectuals and by the people of country began immediately after the independence. Now with this began the human rights concept. What is human rights concept? Everybody wanted to safeguard their own personal rights. Everybody, we say that even a person who is not yet born, एक बच्चा अगर माँ की कोख में पैदा है, उसने जन्म ले लिया है, उसको भी हमारा संविधान उसके राइट्स देता है, अनबॉर्न चाइल्ड को भी देता है. So naturally all those who are born here, who are the citizens of a country, उनको सबको fundamental rights मिले हुए हैं. And all these fundamental rights, they keep on changing with the time. We say that constitution is a living thing. एक जिंदा एक किताब है जो समय के साथ में चेंज होती है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल आज से 15-20 साल पहले व्हाट्सएप नहीं था, सोशल मीडिया नहीं था. So at that time also we were living again under the same umbrella of constitution. But now with the changes that came in communication system, in social media, so we have modified our IT laws. We have enacted IT laws in a manner so that the privacy and the rights of the citizens are also maintained and the integrity and the unity of the country is also not threatened. So that is why we say that it is a living constitution. So as we all know that Article 32 of the Constitution is the heart and soul of it. Without which there will be chaos, there will be absolutely no rule of law and it would turn into a banana republic. जहाँ पे एक आदमी दूसरे आदमी की कोई भी कदर नहीं करेगा, कोई भी रिस्पेक्ट नहीं करेगा. So that is why we are all bound by this. So what does judicial pronouncement do? Judicial pronouncements over a period of time have employed profound phrases and they have conveyed so many themes. You may have heard विशाखा का केस हुआ था तो गाइडलाइंस आई थी. क्या गाइडलाइंस आई थी कि at the workplace all the companies which have 10 or more employees, they will have to have a sexual harassment they are answerable to the courts of law. अगर ऐसा कोई इंसिडेंट होता है तो the court lays down various guidelines. Supreme Court lays down the definition. It actually defines कि किस चीज का क्या मीनिंग निकलेगा. All the laws which are laid down, they are amenable to challenge before the Supreme Court. तो जब भी ये चैलेंज होता है या किसी भी लॉ में कहीं पे भी दो अर्थ निकाले जाने की संभावना होती है, at that point in time people come to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court actually determines whether the law is capable of implementing, enforcement उसकी हो सकती है या नहीं हो सकती, और otherwise the law is struck. So they not only convey all these things, but they also actually restate the philosophy of the constitution. And that is why probably you may have heard, कहीं पे भी अगर कोई आपने केस लॉ सुना होगा या किसी भी केस के बारे में सुनते होंगे तो आप ये कहते हैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ये कह दिया. So what Supreme Court interprets or what Supreme Court says is the law of the land. Supreme Court of course cannot enact, legislation करना हमारा काम नहीं है, but at the same time जो legislation पार्लियामेंट ने किया है उसको इंटरप्रेट करना हमारा काम. उसको हमारा काम ये है देखना कि it is within the parameters of the constitution, and that is why part 3 of the constitution जिसके अंदर हमें फंडामेंटल राइट्स मिले हैं, इसके अंदर दिए हुए जो भी राइट्स हैं they are considered to be the basic structure of the constitution. The parliament has no power to amend those rights. Article 32 itself is a fundamental right which the parliament cannot take away from us. So the power vested in the Supreme Court under Article 32 or otherwise, they are very unique and they are basically of the nature of safeguarding our rights, fundamental rights. Not only of the citizens, but there are certain incidences where the Supreme Court has also gone on to say कि जो citizens नहीं हैं, उनके भी कुछ rights हमारे यहाँ पे they are safeguarded. Now, the Constitution of India has also laid down various detailed schemes as I discussed earlier. In order to form or in order to allow the democracy function in a natural way, our Constitution lays down it is a federal constitution. It lays down various guidelines. It lays down various directive principles for the states to follow. So it has enacted in this regard various administrative functions of the Union of India and the state government. It has also provided for federal structure which guarantees free movement of the people. आपको कोई पंजाब जाने से रोक नहीं सकता, कोई दिल्ली आने से रोक नहीं सकता, कोई तमिलनाडु जाने से रोक नहीं सकता. Because we are federal in nature, but constitutionally we are connected, and the Constitution provides us this right that we are free to move. It has also, cast some limitations as I discussed earlier, which we need to follow. Now, contemporarily, new constitutions also, all our amendments in the Constitution which come with every passing day, as I mentioned that we have made some changes in the IT Act. Similarly, there are some changes which are made in our civil law, our criminal law. All these laws and the changes they come in consonance with the United Nations ratification that we do. वहाँ पे जो कन्वेंशन बनते हैं, वहाँ पे जो हम लोग बीइंग अ मेंबर ऑफ द यूनाइटेड नेशंस, जो एक वर्ल्ड वाइड एक माना जाता है कि सिविल सोसाइटी और अ डेमोक्रेसी शुड फंक्शन लाइक दिस, तो उसके हम सिग्नेटरी होने के नाते वहाँ पे हम लोग जो रेटिफिकेशन करते हैं वो चेंजेस हमें यहाँ पे लाने पड़ते हैं. तो सिमिलरली based on those lines we bring in the changes in our constitution and in our laws. Basically here I would like to mention only two, which is the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1966 and International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. These two are the relevant for today's session. It has also enacted some reasonable restrictions on the fundamental rights without the need of search by the court for due process of law. जब आपका कोई फंडामेंटल राइट अगर इम्पीच होता है या ब्रीच होता है और आप कोर्ट चले जाते हैं, तो उस समय कोर्ट आपसे ये नहीं कहता है कि oh there is no process for this. We have a process laid down for every type of offence. Almost every nook and corner of the constitution has been touched upon by the Supreme Court over a period of time. कहीं ना कहीं से कोई ना कोई इस तरह का केस आ ही जाता है कि जिसमें almost every type of a statute, law book जो है उसको सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने टच किया होता है और उसमें गाइडलाइंस आ जाती है. Now the constitution has also laid down the guidelines for the state actions, as I mentioned earlier, for the directive principles of the state policy. Now all these demands and independent deliberative bodies which can declare on all these matters, like the state bodies or some private bodies, ये सब क्या करती है? They ensure that the justice is administered. They ensure कि जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है या जो हमारा रूल ऑफ लॉ है, जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, उसको फॉलो किया जाए. अगर नहीं होगा तो देयर आर रेमेडी, देयर इज अ रेमेडी. वो कहते हैं ना इंग्लिश में, हम लोग कहते हैं ऊपी जस्ट इजी रेमेडियम. जहाँ पे राइट होता है वहाँ पे रेमेडी होती ही होती है, बिकॉज जहाँ पे राइट हुआ वहाँ पे राइट का इंफ्रिंजमेंट होना होता है, और अगर इंफ्रिंजमेंट होना होता है तो लोग कोर्ट जाते हैं और कोर्ट जाते हैं तो रेमेडी. तो wherever there is a right, there is always a remedy, and you will find these things implemented by the Supreme Court under Article 32 and by the High Court under Article 226. The principle that there can be no right without a remedy has persuaded the courts to engage on fashioning relevant remedial processes and relevant to the rights in question. Rights without remedy are just like a writ in water, and human rights without effective implementation are just like shadows without substance. अगर आप पानी में लकीर खींच दोगे तो उसका कोई इम्पोर्टेंस नहीं है. सिमिलरली अगर किसी को आपने कोई राइट दे दिया और रेमेडी नहीं दिया तो उसका भी कोई इम्पोर्टेंस नहीं है. Article 32 said to be providing for judicial review is thus a basic feature of the Constitution, as providing for access to the justice as intrinsic and integral to the declaration of Article 13. कोई भी अगर statute challenge होता है तो उसको हम Article 13 के अंदर ये कहते हैं कि ये सस्टेनेबल है, एनफोर्सेबल है या ये null है. It has to be struck down. While the broad constitutional goals are stated, the means and measures that will be adopted to achieve them are open to contest and debate. As I mentioned in the beginning, कि जो हमारे राइट्स हैं उनको अचीव करने का जो रास्ता हमें बताया गया है थ्रू द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, उसको भी हम लोग कंटेस्ट कर सकते हैं, डिबेट कर सकते हैं, एंड ऑल दीज राइट्स आर गिवन टू अस अंडर आर्टिकल 32, where we can debate. There can be deficiencies in courts, in the implementation of the laws by the state. There can be errors. People, they are human beings. They also can make errors. They can make mistakes. So basically the court's role is to maintain the equilibrium. कि रूल ऑफ लॉ भी मेंटेन हो, यूनिटी इंटेग्रिटी भी मेंटेन हो, लोगों के राइट्स भी सेफगार्ड हो और किसी तरह का कोई डेंजर ना हो. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल ट्रांसलेशन which I say impeachment of the rights, they are all wrong. They involve direct or indirect infringement or direct impact on the interest of the people, rights or interests of a section of a society. जैसे अगर कोई दूसरे को तंग करता है as a section of the society. And suppose somebody tries to play with the rights of the people of India. जैसे CA and RC आया था, it was not only for Muslims, it was for all of us. तो चाहे किसी एक सेक्शन के हो चाहे सबके हो, अभी तक जो बात किया, इसी को रूल ऑफ लॉ मैंडेट कहते हैं। मैंडेट मतलब एक ऑर्डर होता है, कमांडमेंट होता है जो हम सबको फॉलो करना होता है। तो रूल ऑफ लॉ मैंडेट जो है, दैट इज गिवन इन आवर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, due to which we all enjoy the integrity and unity of our country. Now, in order to ensure that the governance चलता रहे, कहीं कोई किसी से गलती ना हो, तो what do we do actually? अगर कोई करता है गलती तो हम क्या करते हैं? Then we have that instrument called contempt of court. वहाँ पे contempt of court जो है वो empower करता है कोर्ट को to punish the person who has done that wrong. Let us now discuss what are the specific remedies that are given under Article 32 to all of us. The right to move the Supreme Court by the appropriate proceedings for enforcement of the rights conferred under this part. Part 3 of Constitution में जितनी भी remedy हमें मिली है, जितने भी fundamental rights मिले हैं, हम उन तक लिए जा सकते हैं Supreme Court. The Supreme Court shall have power to issue the direction, order or writ. किसी भी तरह का डायरेक्शन, ऑर्डर या रिट हो सकता है गवर्नमेंट के खिलाफ, या आप इनका राइट जो है उसको एनफोर्स करें। Now, without prejudice to the powers conferred on the Supreme Court under clauses 1 and 2, Parliament may, by law, empower any other court to exercise within its local jurisdiction all or any of the powers exercisable by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court के पास पावर है, इसलिए हम कहते हैं कि हम कस्टोडियन हैं, तो वो सारे पावर जो आज सुप्रीम कोर्ट के पास, बट पार्लियामेंट के पास ये पावर है कि वो किसी और जगह पे, किसी और कोर्ट को, हाई कोर्ट को और वो एम्पावर कर सकते हैं कि आप भी अंडर आर्टिकल 32 में फंडामेंटल राइट्स लोगों के प्रोटेक्ट। Clause 4 of Article 32 says that the rights guaranteed by this article shall not be suspended except as otherwise provided by this Constitution. Neither the Supreme Court nor the Parliament has power to suspend our rights given to us under Article 32. आपने सबने सुना होगा शायद मेनका गांधी केस। मेनका गांधी केस के बाद में क्या हुआ? उसके बाद में ये हुआ कि एवरी एक्शन, पहले ये होता था कि देयर आर सम एक्शंस ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट व्हिच वर नॉट एमिनेबल टू judicial review of the Supreme Court. After that, any action of the government is amenable to the judicial review by the Supreme Court. There was one more case called Coelho versus State of Tamil Nadu. In that case, it was held that the suspension of the rights guaranteed by the article, by the part 3, you can suspend it for some time, but you cannot change the scope of it. The government is provided with the power to suspend some of the rights for temporarily, for some reason. Obviously, they will have to give reason. For example, कहीं अगर war declare हो जाती है, कहीं कुछ होता है, तो government has power. वो section 144 लागू कर देता है या बोल देता है कि आपने बाहर नहीं जाना। अभी रिसेंटली जैसे कोरोना हुआ था, ड्यूरिंग कोरोना ऑल्सो वी वर एडवाइज नॉट टू गो आउट बिकॉज द गवर्नमेंट हैज पावर टू सस्पेंड अवर राइट, बट इट कैन नॉट चेंज द स्कोप और कंटेंट चेंज नहीं कर सकते हैं। एक केस हुआ था बंधुआ मुक्ति मोर्चा केस। उस बंधुआ मुक्ति मोर्चा केस के बाद में ये हुआ कि इंक्वायरी एज टू वेदर द फंडामेंटल राइट इज इन्फ्रिंज्ड एंड डिजर्व्स एनफोर्समेंट और नॉट, इट वाज डिसाइडेड। नाउ this will necessarily involve the evaluation of the fact situation in relation to the fundamental right. जो factual situation है उसको fundamental right से आप compare करेंगे and the court will determine, especially in the light of the limitations कि इनके fundamental rights जो हैं वो infringe हुए हैं या नहीं हुए हैं। Now let us talk about what are the limitations. जो reasonable restrictions हमारे ऊपर कोर्ट ने लगाई हैं वो क्या है? The Constitution has enacted several restrictions on fundamental rights guaranteed under Article 19, 25, 26, 29 and 30. ये जो आर्टिकल्स हैं इसमें कहीं ना कहीं कुछ न कुछ गवर्नमेंट ने, पार्लियामेंट ने हमारे ऊपर जो रिस्ट्रिक्शंस लगाई हैं, because none of the rights under these articles will be enforced by proceedings under Article 32 without due regard to the restrictions जो उसके अंदर दिया हुआ है। तो इसीलिए हमारे अगर कुछ हक है तो कुछ ड्यूटीज भी है। तो द कंटेम्प्ट ऑफ कोर्ट, अगर कोई गलत काम करता है तो कोर्ट क्या कर सकता है? The Supreme Court then exercise its contempt power to punish an act which tends to interfere with the course of administration of justice. Nobody can issue any statement derogatory to the court, which are actually which can undermine the confidence of the people and the integrity of the judges. Then attempts to prejudice the court action or anything against the court by one party in the proceeding, that also is not allowed. Nobody can say something which can stir up the feeling of the people. Attempts to affect the minds of the judges or flattery, ये भी allowed नहीं है. Publications which can scandalize the court, वो भी allowed नहीं है. So all these things are punishable under law. So therefore nobody can scandalize, nobody can do any corruption, dishonesty नहीं चलेगा. All these things are punishable actions, and Supreme Court can take action under the Contempt of Court Act. So that is how we are actually united. There is a doctrine called stare decisis. We must mention it here. Stare decisis वो होता है जिसमें मान लो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने या हाई कोर्ट ने या कोई भी हायर कोर्ट ने, हायर जुडिशरी ने किसी एक पॉइंट को लेकर के अगर डिटरमाइन कर दिया है, डेफिनेशन ले डाउन कर दिया या गाइडलाइंस कर दिया, तो नो अदर अथॉरिटी inferior in the level of judiciary will have the power to change it. Of course, it can be reviewed by the higher judiciary, but not by the lower judiciary. That is what we call as doctrine of stare decisis. एक बार अगर कोई चीज तय हो गई, implement हो गई, practice में आ गई, so it cannot be challenged, it cannot be changed easily. Either the parliament has got power to actually come out with a fresh law or amend or repeal, or the higher judiciary will do it. So this is how the whole structure is laid down, and this is how we are connected with a thread called Constitution, and this is how the unity and integrity of India is being maintained. Now recently I heard that there was an incident in Madhubani in Bihar, wherein the magistrate summoned some police official. So he got so much angry that he just came and straight away entered into the judge's chamber, started threatening him. Even he took out his pistol and threatened him with dire consequences. Immediately on the Shor Sharaba, who are the other advocates practicing there, they came to the rescue of the judge and the things were settled there. But on the same very day, Honorable Allahabad High Court took the cognizance. They took the suo motu cognizance of the entire incident, and the Home Secretary of Bihar was summoned. ये कोई बहुत पुरानी बात नहीं, recently around a week or so पहले की बात है. So the Home Secretary was summoned, the IG police was summoned, the Commissioner was summoned. Why? Because अगर ये allow हो जाता है, if the police, which is the machinery to support the judiciary, if they start acting in this manner, then there will be a collapse of the judicial system. So to maintain it, we all need to respect our laws. We all need to respect our constitution. We all need to respect the rule of law and the constitution. So with this, I end my session. I think it has gone too long, and I'd like to answer if there are few questions.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am, for instilling a sense of patriotism in all of us, and we truly are willing to proceed on the path you have guided us to. The thoughts you have shared today will stay with us for a lifetime, and it was a pleasure interacting with and simultaneously listening to you today. So I would now request everyone to kindly drop in their questions, if any, in the chat box, and ma'am would be happy to take them up.
I'll be leaving in 5 minutes. Please hurry it up.
question here.
Prime Minister or President have? Prime Minister, President have the power to claim against the judgment of the Supreme Court. If the Prime Minister or the President are in any way in difference of opinion with the Supreme Court, then they of course will have to put that judgment before the standing committee, before the concerned ministry. And the concerned ministry can in turn have a committee set up to review what is said in the judgment and what the changes it intends to put in. So yes, they can, but they cannot disobey until and unless the judgment is enforced. Neither the Prime Minister nor the President has the power to disobey that judgment. They can make changes into that through the proper procedure, by following proper procedures, which is called the parliamentary procedure. Parliament में ही रूल बनते हैं, parliament में ही rules amend होते हैं या repeal होते हैं. So despite the fact that they are Prime Minister and President, they are individuals. They are bound by the law of the land. जैसे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन उन पे एप्लीकेबल है, सिमिलरली सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जो वर्डिक्ट आती है वो भी उन पे एप्लीकेबल है. एंड चेंजेस दे कैन नॉट मेक देमसेल्व्स, दे हैव टू फॉलो द प्रॉपर.
Ma'am, we have another question from Arshita that what is habeas corpus?
Habeas corpus is a writ, a kind of a writ, जिसमें कोर्ट डायरेक्शन देता है. If there is any authority, for example, किसी पुलिस ने किसी को बिना वजह रोक लिया, और उसके जो रिलेटिव है वो कह रहे हैं आप इसको नहीं छोड़ रहे, तो कस्टडी में रखो. It is illegal confinement basically by any authority. So under those circumstances, the person who has a right to freedom in a country can approach the court. वो अंडर आर्टिकल 226 कोर्ट में हाई कोर्ट में जा सकता है, और वहाँ जा सकते बोल सकता है कि जो भी अथॉरिटी है बंदे को हमारा बच्चा वो कंफाइन किया हुआ है, डायरेक्टेड टू रिलीज दैट
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, signing off, we would now like to present a vote of thanks.
I wish all of you, all the students who have listened to me, a very, very happy Constitution Day and a very bright future ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, now we would like to present a vote of thanks to our Honorable Principal Sir for joining us today. And we are truly grateful to our beloved speaker for taking out time for us and enlightening our minds with her noteworthy plethora of knowledge. You made this webinar enthralling to an extent that all of us were hooked to the very end. And so once again, we thank you, ma'am. And last but not the least, we would like to thank our audience for being a wonderful listener and